I'm delighted this morning to be joined by Vikki Searls, one of the founders of Ignata Finance. Vikki's joining us today really to kind of share a bit about her journey in being part of Ignata Finance from day one when the business was first launched to an ultimate exit, where we are delighted to announce that we recently sold Ignata Finance, where all of us as investors, founders, and the Inquirer have entered into an agreement where we sold the business to ZRG, which is one of the largest executive search firms in the world. Good morning, Vikki.
Good morning, James.
So, how do you feel?
Excited, tired, but good, really, really good.
Just to kick off, Vikki, just give us a bit about your background. So you originally started your life at
Badenoch & Clark, yes. I was there for just over 12 years. Always worked within accountancy and finance as a discipline under interim practice and set up different offices for them. But obviously I'd never done it for myself. And then the opportunity came 7 years ago to start a business from scratch with investment from you.
And tell us a bit about that, Vikki, because you've been a founder from day one. You were part of the business. You've also been the kind of biggest biller in the business since the business was launched. Just tell us a bit about that journey of from day one to where we are today.
Where do I start? No, it was initially quite a scary prospect, because my husband and I that started the business, and obviously when you've got a household and children and bills, to take that leap of faith was quite a thing to do. But it seemed like the right time, and we wish we'd done it earlier, but we just never had the guts to do it. And I'm so pleased that we did. I wish I'd done it 10 years prior, but obviously didn't. And we started the business, just the three of us, Ben, Steve and I, and grew to 15 people. Over that period of time of 7 years, we grew so much as business people as well, not just recruitment. And, we very much focused on accountancy and finance, because that's all we knew in the markets that we played in. But being business owners, we grew from an integrity perspective with lots of our clients, because you'd have a different conversation. They would take you more seriously because you own the business, and you could have lots of different conversations with them from that perspective. So I think our offering became stronger. I still focused on the interim side of things and grew that practice, which was tough, being part-time as well, but I managed to do it and had some success with it.
What's your average billings, Vikki, been over the last 3 years?
Between sort of 800 and 900,000 sterling, so probably $1 to $1.1 million.
And I heard you mention the word part-time.
Yeah. Yes. So I started on 3 days a week when we first started the business.
And sorry, just to be clear, and you're billing that doing part-time?
Yes. Well, you have a part-time when you work in recruitment, but yes, in essence, I was part-time.
So that's your kind of 3 to 4 days a week, and that's
Yes.
Mainly because you've got two young children. Yeah. What are the ages of the children?
So now 12 and 9.
Okay. And Vikki, tell me, so a lot of founders, when they start a business, they want to own 100% because they want to have control, etc. What's been your experience of being a minority shareholder and still achieving an exit versus owning 100% of the business, and having complete control?
I think you can underestimate the opportunity of having an investor, because, we were in, not to sound like I'm playing it down, but we were just recruiters. So to understand the mechanics of owning your own business and having that comfort of having someone to talk to on how to grow it, you were so hands-on from that perspective that I don't think you can underestimate the value in that. And I think 100% is great as a dream. And yes, a lot of people do that and they're happy, and it's more of a lifestyle type business. But I think in order to achieve an exit, which we've done, you need to have that guidance to get you through it. I don't think we could have achieved it on our own, to be honest.
So I think if you'd have started Ignata Finance, just you and Ben, 100%, do you think you'd be sitting where you are today, having just exited?
No, because I know people that are still doing it and still trying. So no, definitely not.
And where do you think the value comes from, Vikki? So obviously we do monthly board meetings,
Yeah.
we interact on a regular basis. How's that relationship worked over the last 7 years?
It's more a case of knowing, you only know what you know. And I think having the ability for yourself and the rest of the team to be able to sort of guide us through, not just from a day-to-day operational perspective, but also what goes into behind the scenes of having the ability to call on the finance team, call on the legal team, and actually not have that distraction, which you would do if you owned your own business. You would still have to do the credit control side of things. You know, there was a legal dispute, you'd still have to have someone externally help you with it and cost money. Obviously, there's a management fee included, but that's, you get what you pay for with that. And just the institutional value of how you run your business when you get to exit means there's no kind of lowballing or chipping of the offer at the end, because everything's been run so smoothly and there's a playbook of which you go by, which you cannot put a price on. So from that perspective, the guidance per month, you know, you still manage to tell us how to do things we don't think about, you know. But that, I think having that sort of being able to call on you, doesn't, not just once a month, but being able to call on you when we did, you know, if we have a problem or we're not sure how to get over something from a team perspective, operational perspective, just an idea really to bounce off. I just don't think you could put a price on that, to be honest.
And what about, you know, in months, in board meetings where you're being challenged on some of the decisions you're making, because obviously we have a vested interest in making the right call.
Mm.
And there's been many months where you want to do something and we challenge it and say, are you sure you want to do that? Just talk me through a bit of that.
It challenged in a good way because it makes you think differently. And that's what I mean by having sort of someone to bounce an idea off. But we never felt any pressure that we had to do it a certain way. We had that sort of creative license to do the things that we wanted to do. So it very much felt like it was your own business. But you would challenge us and we'd listen, because fundamentally you've done this so many more times that we appreciated the guidance that you gave us and we trusted what you said to us. And actually it always turned out for the better anyway. But I think that's a good challenge, because so many people don't have that ability when they run their own business. They've only got one person. Sometimes it's only themselves that are running it. And who do they talk to? And that's when they get a NED or they get some advice elsewhere. So it's the same sort of thing, really.
And when you look at the business, Vikki, so in 2022, we did 880,000 profit. 2023, we dropped to kind of 450.
Yeah.
And you would think, worst time to sell.
Yeah.
So how did that come about?
What in change in the numbers?
No, just in terms of the mindset, because I think most people would say that we're going to sell when we get back to 800. Yeah. So we sold in an unusual situation. Yeah. So I suppose, firstly, how did the relationship with ZRG come about?
It was off the back of a conversation that we'd had, and you know, we had a conversation with them just about how they do their cross-selling so effectively, and then it just kind of tumbleweeded into meeting them, and we really like their approach and the opportunity. And I truly believe everyone had a tough year in 2023, and we weren't trying to get out of the situation. We very much thought we could then get back to where we were, if not do better. And there were lots of things, you know, from our perspective, we made some mistakes in 2023 from a hiring perspective, but you live and learn by that. So that affected those numbers. But the opportunity with ZRG just seemed too good to pass up from a growth, us to learn something different, to be back in that kind of environment where you're part of a bigger team, and the opportunity with them, they're such a great business, and it felt right, and they felt like the right people to go into a relationship with if we're going to make that move. So you don't want to turn down an opportunity like that. You need to think bigger picture. It's not about the deal on day one. It's about the opportunity in the next sort of 3 to 5 years that was very important to us.
Do you think you were forced to make that decision to exit?
No, that was something we wanted. Definitely. And you supported us through that. So no, not at all. You can't force someone to do something like that.
And when we got from getting to meet them, is the culture right? Can we get on with these people? We got over that. Then we got into the transaction itself of getting, and I think a lot of people in recruitment think that you make a profit, you make £1 million profit, you multiply it by 5, you get a number, and then they give you a check. What's reality like?
Not like that at all. It's a fun time going through that process. No, you have to be aligned. That's the most important thing. You need to see what the opportunity is for you, and they need to see what the opportunity is for them. And you're not going to get very far if you're not aligned on that, to be honest. And from a, you don't just do a multiple and expect to get that. You have to really, qualify that multiple. And in recruitment, it's quite tricky because it's all people orientated, and you're selling people in essence, not realistically. That's not quite as simple as that as a transaction.
What was the value that you felt that you and the team got from RE and HB's team in walking and holding your hand through that process and through that journey?
It was amazing because we'd never done it before. So the support we got was brilliant, and we were so grateful for it, because what you don't realise when you're going through a transaction process, which we were told through the process, was the deal fatigue, and actually how it can get when you're dealing with lawyers the whole time and going through reams and reams of paperwork, how it can almost switch you off slightly. And actually the momentum that kept going and the support we had through that process was second to none.
And do you think that the advice that you were given by us, even though we were selling as well, do you think the advice was very much, in your favour to protect you, or do you think it was more in our favour?
No, I think it was totally fair the whole way through. I didn't feel anything other than fairness, and we could pick up the phone at any time to anyone.
And when you look at where the business is today, I mean, having sold so many businesses, I think we probably got 100% premium than what the business would have fetched in the market.
100%, yeah.
Because it's not your fault or my fault, but the market today isn't great. PE are not doing deals. There's not a lot of transactions going out there. And despite the toughest market conditions, we've managed to sell a business at an absolute premium in the market. And if you look at, if there was no kind of RE or partner and you just built it on your own without it being very institutionally run, and sometimes that's quite frustrating because we have to, every month there's a board meeting, there's a board pack, and, there's balance sheets and all that kind of stuff, which kind of sometimes people think isn't a bit of an overkill. But you can now see that if we didn't have any of that, if we hadn't run the business the way we'd run it, we never would have got the kind of valuation that we got.
100%. I think you've got to be willing as well to understand there is a process with this. And I think that I quite like that side of it anyway. I quite enjoy that. Sounds a bit weird, but I do quite enjoy that side of it, and the numbers and understanding. So I think if you kind of want to just be rogue and run your business in a way that just suits you, it's probably not right. But if you want to actually get to an exit, and you want to understand that there won't be any chipping off the price if you do run it the way that you've said, then I think it's the right thing for you, because you have to understand that there is a process for this, and it's not a simple, right, I'm going to get my business to X amount from an EBITDA perspective, then sell it, everyone's going to want it, because they don't. And I think there's as you learn as you go along, there's a realisation in that. And when you speak to it, I've got so many friends that I know that still, struggled, didn't even make profit last year, that they still think that they're going to get a ridiculous X for their business, which just isn't true at all.
No, because buyers, as you've experienced, are not silly, they're not naive, and they're not Father Christmas. The buyer wants to buy the best business at the lowest price. Why wouldn't you? And the seller wants to sell his business at the best price. And the skill of navigating the two so they both feel they're getting a fair deal is an art, because in recruitment, every founder I've ever met has an unrealistic expectation of value, and every buyer I've ever met wants to buy a cheap deal.
Everyone wants a deal.
Everybody wants a deal. So, you know, and the reason why very few transactions happen in recruitment, you know, even if you look at your kind of 10, 15-year experience in the industry, you know, lots of businesses, you've met lots of people, very few, you could name probably on one hand how many you've actually know who've sold successfully, because deals don't happen. People, every founder you meet every day of your life will say, I'm going to exit in 3 to 5 years. Everyone says that. How many actually do it? And I think from your perspective, if we've got lots of founders kind of watching this today, what advice would you give them in terms of what you've learned through this journey and how you've worked with HB, with the team at RE, etc.? What advice would you give them?
I think if there's any sort of prospective people that are looking for investment, that they should really consider taking it on, because I just think it's so difficult to navigate it on your own, unless you have you've done this before, or you know you've got someone within that, I don't know, advisory, you know, or corporate finance background to understand what it means. I think if you're just like we were, as very sort of simple recruiters that entered into this, I just don't know how you would navigate that on your own. And I think even if you've done it for 10, 15 years, I just think it's really difficult, even if you find a buyer, to navigate your way through the actual deal process itself. It's just not simple. And I'm really grateful for everything that you guys have done, because we just wouldn't have achieved what we've achieved without it. So I think you've got to have that conversation, but then also have a realistic view. Having X equity over 100% is worth so much more in the long run, because you've got 100% of something that might equate to nothing if you were looking to sell. So it's a no-brainer in my opinion.
Yeah. And as you know, a lot of founders, when they do this on their own, there is no concept of a management fee. And lots of founders are constantly, you know, quibbling about management fees. Having now been through the entire journey from beginning to end, what thoughts would you share with them on?
You'll have to pay someone at some point. So having that the whole way through is much better to set you on the even keel, rather than having to do it all at the end and spend so much money, you know, trying to get yourself through that process, you know, or corporate finance house or whatever it may be. And also, you need to have someone needs to run your business from a finance perspective. Someone needs to give you legal advice at some point. So having that all wrapped up in one, and then the advice that we get from you on a monthly basis, I don't know how you would do it without it, to be honest. And it's fair. It's not ridiculously large.
Yeah. I think I suppose the key issue for founders is, if you've done this on your own, would you be sitting where you are today? And how realistic is that? Because that's, I suppose, the key thing that a founder would say is, look, you know, because every founder you've met and I've met will say, in the next 3 to 5 years, I'm going to exit. And they're on their own. I think with, you know, RE and the investment, my view is, if you'd done this on your own, you probably would have been a 3 to 5 man business today. You would have been billing well, you'd have been making good money, but have a nice lifestyle business. Nothing wrong with that at all. But would you have got the business to a position of scale, size, and getting an exit on your own? Unlikely.
I doubt it. No, I doubt it. I think that it depends on what you want out of it, really. But yeah, we would have probably done okay. But I don't think we would have been able to scale it, because I don't think we would have had the tools to be able to help us to do that.
And just finally, advice to founders on the concept of minority versus majority. So one of the things that holds most founders back is, I need to own, you know, control. You've been a minority shareholder. Have you felt like a minority? Have you ran the business?
No. It's been, honestly, not for the camera, but it honestly has not felt like that at all. I'm going to miss you, James. No, it hasn't felt like that at all to us. It's been fair. We've been autonomous. We've run the business ourselves. Any idea that we think is interesting and good for the business, you've never really challenged us from a negative perspective. You made us think differently sometimes, but there's never been any kind of crossword or anything negative from it. If anything, it's just been positive.
Vikki, can I take this opportunity to wish you every success in your new chapter? This is a new journey, a new beginning with ZRG, and it's been delighted to have you in the RE family.
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.